Welcome to part 8 of my build of the quarter scale Taylorcraft Auster 5A based on the Jerry Bates Auster J1 Autocrat plans. This video is a slideshow with a voiceover of some pictures I took while building it. Day 50. I put pinked tape on the tailplanes today and then sprayed them with some primer. I have two rather small servos and installed one of them as a throttle servo. The wire from the servo will pass just above the muffler. Then I wanted to start covering the wings with Oratex, but realized that I had to primer or paint under the flaps. This did not take a long time, but then the drying of paint started. I'm certain I could watch paint dry for Iceland and be good at it. Day 51. I used this morning to work on the wings, get them ready for the Oratex covering, sand, and install servo leads for the 4 servos, especially since putting them in will be extremely difficult once the covering is on. Day 52. I started the day by covering parts of the wings with Oratex, the servo hatches and the flaps. This took some time, partly because I decided to put screws in the blocks holding the servos to make sure they do not fall off. Then I decided to paint epoxy resin on the motor fixings. But first I wanted to fit the petrol tank. I have a 16 ounce or 480 milliliter Dubro tank, and I tried to put this into the box for it. It did not want to drop in, so I sawed some material off the top of the firewall, but this did not allow the tank in either. Then I had a brilliant idea. I measured the depth of the box and found out it is 142 millimeters. The length of the tank is 149 millimeters. Oops! I need a new tank. For example, the 14 ounce or 420 milliliter tank from Dubro, which is 136 millimeters in length according to the internet. Day 53. I put Oratex on the bottom surface of the wing. More like this later. I tested sanding the primer on one of the tailplanes with fine sandpaper until the covering was starting to be seen through and all small defects were gone. Then I sprayed it with silver paint. This will look really nice. I plumbed the Dubro 14 ounce tank, 420 milliliters, and inserted it in the tank box. The plans show an 8 ounce or 240 milliliter tank, but I think the engine would empty it just by starting. Now I will just have to put some foam around the tank to prevent it from moving. Day 54. I stopped in my shop for a while to make the light fixtures on the wingtips. I started by sawing away some space for a carbon tube that will eventually hold the diode and glued it in place. Then I hollowed out a piece of soft balsa so that it would fit over the tube and glued it in place. Finally, I cut away everything that did not look like a light fixture and then smeared some filler on it. When this is hard, I can sand it to final shape. I will install the bulb or diode before I fly the model. Day 55. I have finished the bottom covering on both wings. Next, the upper surfaces. I also finished covering one aileron and put strips of Oratex on it for the threads. Not very clear, white on white. Day 56. I finished covering the wings with Oratex as well as both ailerons. I foresee a few days of thread lines and pinked tape.